The monthly family brunch was my mother's tradition. Started 15 years ago when Tyler graduated from college, it happened on the first Sunday of every month at Riverside Country Club. Everyone dressed nicely, ordered mimosas, and performed the ritual of being a successful, loving family. I'd stopped attending regularly 3 years ago. At first, I was too busy with the transition after selling CyberShield to Microsoft for $90 million. Then too busy building SecureNet, my new venture. And finally, just too tired of performing for people who'd spent my entire childhood telling me I'd never amount to anything. I sat in my apartment that Saturday evening staring at my phone. The text from my grandmother had come through an hour ago. "Emily, sweetheart, I'm turning 90 next month. It would mean the world to me if you came to brunch tomorrow. I know it's hard, but please, for me. Love, Grandma Maggie." I typed and deleted 3 different responses. My therapist, Dr. Sarah Williams, had been clear about boundaries. You don't owe them your presence, Emily, especially not in environments where you've been consistently hurt. We'd spent 2 years unpacking the damage. The constant criticism, the comparisons to my siblings, the way my mother had mocked my computer science degree as not real work for a woman. How they'd said I'd fail when I started CyberShield, then claimed I'd just gotten lucky when Microsoft acquired it. But this wasn't about them. This was about Grandma Maggie. She was the only person in my family who'd believed in me. When I was 20 and my parents refused to help with college tuition, why waste money on computers when you could study something practical? Grandma Maggie had quietly written me a check for $15,000. "Follow your dreams, sweetheart," she'd said. "Don't let anyone tell you what you're capable of." I picked up my phone and typed, "I'll be there, Grandma. Love you." Her response came immediately. "Thank you, my dear. You've always been my brave girl." I wasn't feeling particularly brave as I stood in front of my closet the next morning. I'd bought a new blazer last week, navy blue, professional, but not designer. I paired it with dark jeans and a white blouse. Nice, but not trying too hard. My mother would hate it anyway. I looked at myself in the mirror, 32 years old, CEO of a growing cybersecurity company, Forbes 30 under 30, multiple speaking engagements lined up. But standing here, about to face my family, I felt like I was 10 again, waiting for my mother to tell me everything I'd done wrong. "You're not that kid anymore," I said aloud to my reflection. "You're successful. You're capable. You can do this." The Honda Civic I'd owned for 8 years started on the first try, as always. I'd bought it used when I was 26, back when CyberShield was just an idea and 3 employees working out of my apartment. People always asked why I hadn't upgraded after the Microsoft sale. The truth was, I liked this car. It was reliable, paid off, and didn't draw attention. My mother saw it differently. To her, it was evidence that I didn't know how to present success properly. The drive to Riverside Country Club took 20 minutes. I spent most of it practicing deep breathing exercises and reminding myself I could leave whenever I wanted. I had my own car. I was a grown woman. I had control. The parking lot told a different story than mine. Brandon's black Range Rover sat near the entrance. Jessica's white Mercedes was 2 spots over. Even Tyler, the baby of the family at 29, drove a BMW that our parents had helped him buy. My Honda looked painfully out of place. I parked in the back corner and sat for a moment, hands still on the steering wheel. Through the club's large windows, I could see my family already gathered at our usual table. The one in the center of the dining room where everyone could see the Parker family being perfect. My phone buzzed. Tyler. "Hey sis, can't wait to see you." Something about the message felt off, but I couldn't place why. Tyler and I had never been particularly close. He was the golden child, the youngest, the most spoiled, the one who'd never had to work for anything. Why the sudden enthusiasm? I pushed the thought away and walked into the country club. The hostess recognized me immediately. "Ms. Parker, it's been so long. Your family is already seated." "Thank you, Claire." The walk across the dining room felt like it took an hour. I could feel eyes on me, other club members who knew my family, who'd probably heard about my success, who were now watching to see how the black sheep Parker daughter would fit in. My mother was holding court at the head of the table, her blonde hair perfectly styled, her designer dress probably costing more than my entire outfit. She saw me approaching and her smile tightened. "Oh, look!" Brandon announced loudly, standing up with his mimosa raised. "The millionaire has arrived. Did you valet your Honda or did you hide it in the back lot?" Laughter rippled around the table. 17 people. Brandon and his wife Jennifer with their 2 kids, Jessica and her husband David, Tyler, Aunt Carol, Uncle Robert, Uncle James, my cousins Amy, Rachel, Chris, and Michael, all of them looking at me with expressions ranging from amusement to pity. The only empty seat was at the far end of the table, as far from Grandma Maggie as physically possible. Of course. "I parked in the lot," I said quietly, making my way to the chair. "Hi, Grandma." Maggie's face lit up. At 90, she was still sharp, still beautiful, but there was a sadness in her eyes as she looked at me across the expanse of the table. "Hello, sweetheart. I'm so glad you came." "Wouldn't miss it," I said, though we both knew that was a lie. I'd barely sat down when Jessica leaned forward, her voice carrying. "Let me guess. You still have that ancient Honda. I saw it in the parking lot. Very impressive for someone who supposedly sold a company for millions." "I like my car," I said. My mother set down her mimosa, her third, I noticed, and it wasn't even noon yet. "You're an embarrassment, Emily. Your sister drives a Mercedes. Brandon has a Range Rover. Even Tyler has a BMW, and you show up here looking like you shop at thrift stores." The familiar tightness started in my chest. Breathe. Count to 5. Don't engage. "I'm comfortable, Mom." "You're comfortable being a disappointment," she corrected, her voice sharp. "We tell people you're successful, and then you show up looking like this. How are we supposed to be proud of you?" I'd heard variations of this my entire life. When I was studying computer science, they said I'd never get a job. When I got hired at a tech startup, they said I was wasting my potential. When I started CyberShield, they said I'd fail within a year. When the company succeeded, they said I'd gotten lucky. When Microsoft bought it for $90 million, they said the buyers were idiots and it wasn't really worth that much. Nothing I did would ever be enough because I didn't perform success the way they wanted me to. Grandma Maggie caught my eye from across the table and gave me a sad, knowing smile. She understood. She'd always understood. Brunch proceeded with the usual performances. Brandon bragged about his sales numbers at Thompson & Associates, his father-in-law's real estate firm. "A $2.5 million listing," he announced proudly. Everyone congratulated him like he'd discovered a cure for cancer. Jessica talked about David's upcoming partnership review at Morrison & Klein. "They're almost certain to make him partner this year," she said, reaching over to squeeze his hand. "We're looking at houses in Westchester." Tyler showed off photos from his recent vacation to Bali, funded entirely by our parents as a congratulations gift for keeping his marketing job for a whole year. The bar was exceptionally low for Tyler. "What have you been up to, Emily?" Aunt Carol asked. Her voice was polite, but there was something performative about it. Like she was asking because she was supposed to, not because she cared. "I'm developing a new platform for small business cybersecurity," I began. "SecureNet. We just closed our seed funding round at a $15 million valuation and—" "Still playing with computers?" Brandon interrupted, laughing. "Some things never change." "It's not playing," I started. My mother stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. Her face was flushed, that dangerous red that meant she'd crossed from tipsy into something meaner. She picked up her mimosa, her fourth now, and her eyes locked onto mine with an intensity that made my stomach drop. "Watch this," she said loudly, her voice cutting through every conversation at nearby tables. "I want everyone to see this." The dining room didn't go quiet, not exactly, but I felt the shift. People were watching. She walked toward me with deliberate steps, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor. I sat frozen, my hands gripping the edge of the table. "This is how we treat people who embarrass the family," she announced. And then she poured her entire mimosa over my head. The orange juice and champagne were cold, shockingly cold. The liquid hit my hair, my face, my new blazer. It ran down my neck, soaking into my collar, dripping onto my lap. Sticky and sweet and humiliating. For 3 full seconds, the table was completely silent. Then Brandon started laughing. "Oh my God!" he gasped, pulling out his phone. "This is gold! This is absolutely gold!" His fingers moved quickly, swiping to video mode, pointing the camera at me. Jessica had her phone out too, filming from a different angle. Her hand was shaking slightly, whether from shock or nervous excitement, I couldn't tell. "Are you getting this?" Brandon called to Tyler. Tyler grinned, his phone already recording. "Got it." Around the table, phones materialized. Amy, Rachel, Chris, Michael, all filming, all watching. Some laughing, some looking uncomfortable, but none of them saying stop. Uncle Robert chuckled nervously. "Patricia, maybe." "That's how we treat trash," my mother said clearly, making sure everyone could hear, making sure every camera caught it. "People who don't respect themselves or their family." Orange juice dripped from my hair onto the white tablecloth. I could feel it running down my back, could smell the champagne. Around us, other diners had turned to stare. The hostess stood frozen by the entrance, her hand covering her mouth. I stood up slowly. Juice dripped onto the floor, making soft pattering sounds. I looked at Grandma Maggie. She had tears in her eyes, but she said nothing. What could she say? She was 90 years old and had stopped trying to control her daughter's behavior decades ago. My hands were shaking as I pulled out my wallet. I counted out 3 20s and placed them on the table. $60 for my portion of brunch, because even now, even like this, I would pay my way. No one said anything as I walked out. The clicking of cameras followed me, 17 phones capturing every step, every drip, every moment of my humiliation. I made it to my Honda before the tears came. I sat in the driver's seat, sticky and cold and shaking, and I cried. Not because my mother had poured a drink on me. I'd survived worse from her. But because some small, stupid part of me had believed that maybe this time would be different. That maybe success on my own terms would finally be enough. I drove home in silence, the air conditioning making me shiver. In my apartment, I stood in the shower for 20 minutes, washing away the champagne and orange juice and the feeling of 17 people watching me like I was entertainment. I put on clean clothes, sweats and an old t-shirt, and tried to forget it had ever happened. 6 hours later, my phone started buzzing, text after text, notifications from Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'd muted most of my family years ago, but people I went to high school with were tagging me. I opened Facebook with a sense of dread. Brandon had posted the video, 3 minutes and 42 seconds of my mother pouring a drink on my head while everyone filmed and laughed. The caption read, "When your sister thinks she's too good for the family, Mom showing her what needed to be done, #family dynamics, #reality check." It had 47 likes. Jessica had shared it. "Sometimes people need to be put in their place. Family knows best." Yay. Tyler's Instagram story showed the video with GIF overlays and laughing emojis. When keeping it real goes right. The comments were exactly what they'd expected. "Good for Patricia." She needed that wake-up call. Family, pride. I blocked all of them. Brandon, Jessica, Tyler, my mother, every cousin who'd filmed, every aunt and uncle who'd watched and said nothing. Then I closed my laptop, turned off my phone, and sat on my couch in the dark. This was my family. This was who they were, and I needed to accept that they would never, ever change. I turned my phone back on Monday morning because I had a board meeting for Secure Net, 23 missed calls, 67 text messages, 114 notifications. My stomach sank. I opened the messages first. Most were from numbers I didn't recognize. A few were from college friends I hadn't spoken to in years. 2 were from my business partner, James Rodriguez. "Emily, call me ASAP," and "Seriously, call me right now." I called James. "Thank God," he answered on the first ring. "Have you seen it?" "Seen what?" "The video. Emily, it's everywhere." My hands started shaking. "What do you mean everywhere?" "Check Twitter, check Reddit, just check anywhere. I'll call you back in 10. I opened Twitter. #family brunch incident was trending. Number 7 nationally. I clicked on it. The video. My mother pouring the drink. Me sitting there, juice dripping. The laughter. The phones. All of it. But it wasn't just on my family's accounts anymore. It had been shared by @FamilyDramaDaily, an account with 3 million followers. Then @ToxicFamilyTales. Then @Karen's Gone Wild. The view counter kept climbing as I watched. 800,000, 900,000, 1 million. But something was different from what I'd seen on Brandon's Facebook. The comments weren't laughing at me. This is literal assault on camera and everyone's laughing. 78,000 likes. The fact that they're all recording is absolutely psychotic. 45,000 likes. Imagine being this cruel to your own child. 32,000 likes. I scrolled through hundreds of comments, thousands, all of them horrified, all of them angry. Not at me, at them. My phone rang. Dr. Williams. Emily, I saw the video. Are you okay? I don't understand what's happening. You're going viral, she said gently, but not the way your family intended. By Tuesday morning, the video had 8 million views. I couldn't leave my apartment. I couldn't work. I sat on my couch watching my phone light up with notifications, watching the view count climb, watching my family's cruelty become a global spectacle. James came over with coffee and bagels. The board wants to know if you need to take time off. From what? From being humiliated on the internet? From everything. He sat down across from me. Emily, this is big, really big. PR firms are reaching out. Journalists want interviews. I had 3 VCs email asking if you're okay. Why would VCs care? James pulled out his laptop. Because of this. He showed me a Reddit thread. 23,000 comments. The top comment had changed everything. Wait, isn't that Emily Parker? The woman who founded CyberShield? The replies cascaded down. OMG, you're right. She was on Forbes 30 under 30. She sold her company to Microsoft for $90 million. What the hell? And they're treating her like this? I stared at the screen. Someone had linked my Forbes profile, my TechCrunch interview from last month, a photo of me speaking at a conference about women in tech. They figured out who you are, James said quietly. My phone buzzed. A Twitter notification. Someone had tagged me. @EmilyParkerTech is the woman in that viral video. Her family just posted themselves assaulting a tech entrepreneur. Unbelievable. The tweet had 15,000 retweets. Then the news outlets picked it up. TechCrunch. CyberShield founder Emily Parker, abused by family at brunch. Video goes viral. Forbes. Tech entrepreneur humiliated by family in shocking video. Business Insider. The disturbing story behind this week's most viral video. By Wednesday, the video had 20 million views. My inbox was drowning. PR firms offering crisis management, journalists requesting exclusive interviews, other tech founders reaching out with messages of support and their own stories of family dysfunction, and underneath it all, a feeling I couldn't quite name. Part of me was horrified. My worst moment, my deepest humiliation, was now public entertainment. 20 million people had watched my mother call me trash. But another part of me, a smaller, darker part, felt something like vindication. They'd wanted to humiliate me. They'd filmed it, posted it, laughed about it, and now the entire world was seeing them exactly the way I'd seen them my entire life. That's not wrong, Dr. Williams said during our emergency session. You're allowed to feel vindicated. You're allowed to feel anger. You're also allowed to feel scared and violated. All of it is valid. I don't know what to do, I admitted. Everyone wants me to make a statement. James says the board thinks it could be good for the company, showing resilience, turning it into a teachable moment, but I just want it to go away. What do you want, Emily? Not what's good for business, not what people expect. What do you actually want? I thought about it for a long time. I want to show them that they didn't break me, I finally said. I want to keep building. I want my work to speak louder than that video ever could. Then do that. So I worked with James and our PR team to craft a statement, not a long one, not a dramatic one, just enough. I appreciate the overwhelming support during this difficult time. This is a private family matter, and I'm choosing to handle it privately. Right now, I'm focused on building SecureNet and creating technology that protects small businesses from cyber threats. I believe in moving forward, not dwelling on the past. Professional, dignified, grace under pressure. James posted it on the SecureNet company account and my rarely used professional Twitter. The response was immediate. This is class. She's handling this better than most people would. Respect. But privately, sitting alone in my apartment that night, I wasn't sure I felt graceful at all. I felt angry, hurt, and somewhere underneath it all, still hoping for something I knew I'd never get. An apology. The consequences started hitting my family on Thursday. I only knew because people started sending me screenshots, articles, updates. I wasn't watching, wasn't searching, but the internet was watching for me. Brandon, Thompson, and Associates. The Google reviews started first. Would you trust someone who films his mother abusing his sister to handle your real estate transaction? 1 star. Brandon Parker works here. That's the guy from the video. Disgusting. 1 star. I was considering listing my home with this firm until I learned they employ someone who thinks assault is entertainment. Qu'est-ce idea? 1 star. Within 48 hours, Thompson and Associates had lost 23 5-star reviews and gained over 100 1-star reviews. Richard Thompson, Brandon's father-in-law and owner of the firm, called a meeting. I learned this later from Aunt Carol, who heard it from Jennifer, who was there when Brandon came home. "You're fired," Richard had said, "effective immediately." "But Dad," Brandon had started, "I'm not your dad right now. I'm your employer, and I built this firm on reputation and integrity. You filmed your mother assaulting your sister and posted it online thinking it was funny. That's not who we are. It was just family dynamics. It was assault, Brandon. I watched the full video. I saw your sister's face, and I watched you laugh and call it gold. Pack your desk." The firm released a statement. Thompson and Associates does not employ individuals whose personal conduct reflects poorly on our firm's values of respect and professionalism. Jessica and David, Morrison and Klein. David Morrison got called into a partnership meeting on Friday. Morrison and Klein was a boutique law firm that prided itself on professional ethics. They handled employment discrimination cases. They represented women who'd been harassed in the workplace. And now, one of their potential partners was married to a woman who'd been filmed laughing while her mother assaulted her sister. Henry Klein, the senior partner, didn't mince words. "David, we have a problem." "I know," David said. Jessica didn't pour the drink. "She filmed it. She laughed. She posted it with a caption saying Emily needed to be put in her place. Do you understand how that looks for a firm that represents women in discrimination cases?" David's face had gone pale. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying your partnership track is suspended indefinitely. Jessica needs to delete all her social media accounts and issue a public apology. If she doesn't, we'll have to reconsider your future with this firm." David drove home in silence. When he told Jessica, she exploded. "I have to apologize to her? She's the one who ruined everything." "No," David said, his voice shaking with barely contained rage. "You ruined everything when you hit post. Tyler, Tech Vibe." Tyler's firing happened differently. Tech Vibe was a startup, young, progressive, focused on innovation. Half the employees followed tech news religiously. A quarter of them had attended conferences where I'd spoken. They knew exactly who Emily Parker was. The Slack messages started Tuesday. Had General. "Guys, that viral video. That's our Tyler's sister." "Holy shit, you're right. Emily Parker from CyberShield." "He filmed that? He works here?" "I heard her speak at TechCrunch Disrupt. She was amazing. And he was laughing?" By Wednesday, 5 employees had spoken to Amanda Foster, Tech Vibe's CEO. Amanda was 35, a woman in tech who'd fought her own battles. She called Tyler into the conference room Thursday morning. "Tyler, I need to talk to you about the video. It's being blown out of proportion. Stop!" Amanda's voice was ice. "I watched it 3 times. I watched your mother pour a drink on your sister's head and call her trash. I watched you film it and add laughing emojis and post it like it was entertainment. It was just, Tech Vibe is built on values of respect, inclusion, and supporting innovation. We cannot employ someone who participates in and celebrates the abuse of a woman in tech, especially not Emily Parker, who's done more for this industry than you ever will." Tyler's face crumpled. "Please, I need this job. I have rent. You should have thought about that before you hit post. Clear out your desk. You have until noon." My mother discovered the consequences more slowly, but they were no less devastating. Patricia Parker sat on the board of 2 local charities, Oak Hill Children's Charity and the Women's Wellness Foundation. Both boards held emergency meetings within a week of the video going viral. The Oak Hill board chair, Margaret Hendricks, delivered the news personally. "Patricia, the board has asked me to request your resignation." "On what grounds?" "Conduct unbecoming a board member. We've received calls from donors asking about the video. Our organization supports children and families. We cannot have a board member whose public conduct involves—" Margaret paused, choosing her words carefully. "Assaulting her own daughter while others filmed. The Women's Wellness Foundation was more direct. Our mission is supporting women's mental and physical health. Your actions contradict everything we stand for." Riverside Country Club suspended her membership pending review. Several longtime friends stopped returning her calls. Others sent brief, cold text messages. "I saw the video, Patricia. I don't think we should have lunch anymore." The extended family faced their own reckonings. Aunt Carol got pulled into a meeting with her HR director. She worked as an administrative coordinator at a mid-sized insurance company. "Carol, were you present at this incident?" "I was at the table, yes, but I didn't film." "But you didn't stop it either. You're in HR, Carol. You know what we tell employees about witnessing misconduct. Silence is complicity." She wasn't fired, but her upcoming promotion was quietly tabled. Uncle Robert, a financial advisor, lost 3 clients who said they couldn't trust the judgment of someone who'd sat there filming. The cousins, Amy, Rachel, Chris, Michael, all dealt with social media backlash. Amy was a teacher. Parents complained to her principal. Rachel worked retail and got recognized by customers who'd seen the video. Chris's friends roasted him mercilessly. Michael's girlfriend broke up with him. The calls started Friday night, a week after the brunch. My phone rang from a number I'd blocked, then another blocked number, then another. I finally answered one, not checking first. "Emily, thank God!" It was Brandon, and he was crying, actually crying. "Please, you have to help me. Jennifer's leaving me. She's taking the kids. I lost my job. You have to make a statement saying the video was taken out of context." "Was it taken out of context?" I asked quietly. "Well, no, but—" "Then there's no statement to make." "Emily, please, I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. I didn't think it would go like this. Just tell people it was a family joke that went wrong." "It wasn't a joke, Brandon. You filmed our mother pouring a drink on my head and calling me trash. You posted it thinking people would laugh at me with you. The internet just showed you what that looks like to people who aren't in our family. You're ruining my life." "No," I said, surprised by how calm I felt. "You ruined your own life when you hit post. Don't call me again." I hung up and blocked the number. 10 minutes later, another call. David Morrison. "Emily, I'm calling on behalf of Jessica. Tell Jessica to call me herself if she wants to talk. She's very upset. She wants you to know she's not usually like this, that it was a moment of poor judgment." "A moment?" "She filmed for 3 minutes. She wrote a caption. She shared it on Facebook. Those were choices, David. Multiple choices. Her social media is destroyed. People are sending her death threats. My partnership is suspended. Our kids are being bullied at school because their classmates' parents saw the video." Something twisted in my chest. The kids. I hadn't thought about Brandon and Jessica's kids, but I couldn't fix this. I wouldn't. "I'm sorry about your children," I said carefully. "But I didn't post that video. Jessica did. The consequences are hers to handle." "You could make this stop." "No, I can't, and I won't." I hung up. The texts from Tyler came next, a flood of them. I'm so sorry. I know I messed up. I just lost my job. I can't find another one. The video is everywhere. I was just following Brandon and Jessica. I didn't want to be left out. You're my sister. Please help me. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but please. I'm in therapy now. I'm trying to be better. Please, just answer me. I read every message. I didn't respond to any of them. Then my phone rang from an unknown number. I answered without thinking. This is your fault! My mother's voice, sharp and venomous. You need to fix this. How is this my fault? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. You're too sensitive. You always have been. It was just family dynamics, and now you've ruined everyone's lives because you can't take a joke. Something inside me snapped. You poured a drink on my head, I said, my voice rising. You called me trash in front of 17 people. You did it on purpose, and everyone filmed it because you've taught them that humiliating me is entertainment. It wasn't that serious. 20 million people disagree with you, Mom. 20 million people watched that video and saw it for what it was. A mother abusing her daughter while the whole family laughed. How dare you call it abuse? I didn't post the video. Brandon did. You all chose to film it. You chose to post it. You chose to laugh about it. The internet just showed you what that looks like to people who weren't raised by you. You need to fix this. No, I said, and the word felt powerful, final. I don't. I hung up and blocked the number. My apartment was silent except for the sound of my own breathing. I felt hollowed out, exhausted. Then my phone rang one more time. The landline number I knew by heart. Grandma Maggie. I answered immediately. Grandma? Emily, sweetheart. Her voice was soft, tired. I'm so sorry. You don't have to apologize. Yes, I do. I sat there. I watched her do that to you and I said nothing. You couldn't have stopped her. I know. That's why I'm calling. She paused and I heard her take a shaky breath. Emily, I need to tell you something. I changed my will last month, before the brunch. My stomach dropped. Grandma, you don't have to. Hush and listen. Everything goes to you. The house, the investments, the savings. About $4.2 million total. Your mother gets nothing. Brandon, Jessica, Tyler, they get nothing, just you. But I've watched them treat you like garbage for 30 years, Emily. I've watched you succeed despite them, not because of them. I helped you with college because I believed in you. You're the only one who deserves anything from me. Tears were streaming down my face. They're going to be so angry. They're already angry. At least this way, you'll have something to show for a lifetime of their cruelty. And Emily, I'm proud of you. I've always been proud of you. I love you, Grandma. I love you too, sweetheart. Now go build something amazing. Show them what you're really made of. I took Grandma's advice. The next morning, I went back to work. Really back to work. I stopped checking the video's view count. I stopped reading the comments. I focused on Secure Net. The support from the tech community was overwhelming. Speaking invitations flooded in. Investors who'd been on the fence suddenly wanted meetings. Other founders reached out to share their own stories of toxic families and how they'd survived. Michael Jang from Summit Ventures called personally. Emily, I've been following your work for a year, but after seeing how you handled this situation, with dignity, with grace, with focus on your work, I want in. What do you need? We closed our Series A in 6 weeks, $25 million at an $80 million valuation. I owned 60%, $48 million on paper. Forbes reached out for a cover story. Emily Parker, Building Security, Finding Peace. The interview was different from others I'd done, more personal, more honest. I grew up in a family that saw my success as a threat, I told the journalist Rebecca Martin. When you don't fit the mold they want, they try to break you down, but you get to decide who you become. You get to build your own definition of success. Do you regret going to that brunch? I thought about it carefully. No, because it showed me, finally and completely, that I'd been holding on to a fantasy. The fantasy that one day they'd change, that one day they'd be proud of me, The video killed that fantasy, and sometimes you need something to die before something else can grow. The article went viral, a different kind of viral. 20,000 shares. Tech leaders calling me brave. Young women in STEM sending messages. You inspired me to keep going. SecureNet's client base tripled. We hired 15 new employees. The product was working. The business was growing. And I was healing. I heard about my family's downward spiral in pieces. Fragments of information from Aunt Carol, who'd been the only one to reach out with a genuine apology. I should have said something, she told me over coffee. I was a coward. I'm sorry. I appreciated her honesty, even if I wasn't ready to forgive. Brandon's marriage collapsed within 3 months. Jennifer filed for divorce, citing irreparable differences and concern for the emotional well-being of our children. She got primary custody. Brandon moved in with our mother, both of them bitter and broke. He was working at a car dealership now, selling used Hondas. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Jessica and David's marriage survived, but barely. David's partnership was permanently withdrawn. They'd had to sell their house, downsize to a rental. Jessica refused to speak to me, but Aunt Carol said she'd lost most of her friends. The video had shown people who she really was, and they wanted no part of it. Tyler had moved to Portland for a fresh start. He was working as a barista, living in a shared apartment with 3 roommates. The video followed him everywhere. "Aren't you the guy from?" employers would ask during interviews. The answer was always yes, but Tyler was different from the others. His texts continued, but they changed in tone. "I'm in therapy twice a week. I'm learning about family systems and scapegoating. I understand now what we did to you. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want you to know I'm trying to change." I never responded, but I read every message. My mother was the worst off, completely isolated, living in her large house with only Brandon for company, 2 bitter people feeding each other's resentment. Aunt Carol said Patricia spent most days drinking and ranting about how I'd destroyed the family. She'd never once said she was sorry. The video now had 25 million views. It had become a case study. Reddit threads analyzed family dynamics. Psychology YouTubers discussed narcissistic families. TikTok therapists used it to explain scapegoating. My family had wanted to make me infamous. Instead, they'd made themselves a cautionary tale. 1 year and 2 days after the brunch, I was in the middle of a product demo at SecureNet headquarters when my phone buzzed. Aunt Carol. I stepped out of the conference room. "Carol?" "Emily." Her voice was thick with tears. "It's your grandmother. She passed away in her sleep last night." The world tilted sideways. I sat down hard on the hallway floor. "She went peacefully," Carol continued. "I stopped by this morning to bring her groceries, and she was just gone. The doctor said her heart simply stopped. No pain. I need to—" My voice cracked. "I need to see her." "I know, sweetheart. I'm at the house now. Come whenever you're ready." I drove to Grandma Maggie's house in a daze. The white colonial at 1247 Oak Hill Road, where I'd spent every summer as a child, where she'd taught me to play chess on the screened porch, where she'd let me cry about my mother's cruelty and told me, "You're not what she says you are. You're brilliant and kind, and one day you'll show the whole world." Aunt Carol met me at the door and pulled me into a hug. Inside, the house still smelled like Maggie's lavender sachets and Earl Grey tea. "She left instructions," Carol said softly. "For the funeral. She wanted you to handle everything." "Did Mom—" "Patricia doesn't know yet. I called you first. Maggie specifically told me to call you first." The funeral was 3 days later. I arranged everything according to Grandma's wishes. Small service, close friends only, donations to the Women in STEM Scholarship Fund instead of flowers. My mother showed up anyway. She wore a black Chanel dress and oversized sunglasses, playing the role of grieving daughter. Brandon, Jessica, and Tyler came too, all of them dressed in expensive funeral attire. We didn't speak. I gave the eulogy, my voice steady despite the tears. "My grandmother taught me that success isn't measured by what you own, but by who you are when no one's watching. She believed in me when no one else did. She saw potential where others saw failure. She loved without conditions, without performances, without judgment. The world lost a remarkable woman, and I lost the only family member who ever really knew me. I saw my mother's jaw tighten. Brandon stared at his shoes. Jessica dabbed at dry eyes. Only Tyler looked genuinely sad. After the service, Gerald Thompson, Grandma's attorney, approached me. He was 65, silver-haired, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Ms. Parker, I'm sorry for your loss. Your grandmother spoke of you often." "Thank you. I need to schedule the will reading. Are you available next Tuesday?" My mother materialized beside us. "I'm the executor of my mother's estate," she announced. Gerald's expression didn't change. "Actually, Mrs. Parker, Emily is the executor. Your mother's instructions were very specific." Patricia's face flushed red. "That's impossible. I'm her daughter." "And Emily is the person your mother trusted to carry out her final wishes. The reading is Tuesday at 10 a.m. at my office. All beneficiaries will be notified." Gerald Thompson's office was in a restored Victorian downtown. Dark wood, leather chairs, walls lined with law books. The waiting room felt like a stage set for a confrontation. I arrived first, at 9:45. James Rodriguez came with me for moral support. "You okay?" he asked. "I don't know what I am." At 9:50, Tyler arrived. He'd lost weight, looked tired. He nodded at me uncertainly. I nodded back. At 9:55, Jessica and David walked in. Jessica wouldn't look at me. At 10 exactly, Brandon and Patricia arrived together. My mother's face was hard, angry. She'd already decided this was a battle. Gerald ushered us into the conference room. 7 chairs around a mahogany table, a pitcher of water, a box of tissues, and a video camera on a tripod in the corner. "What's that for?" Patricia demanded. "You'll see," Gerald said calmly. He sat at the head of the table and pulled out a leather portfolio. "We're here for the reading of Margaret Ann Parker's last will and testament, dated September 15th, 2023, 1 month before the brunch." I felt James squeeze my hand under the table. Gerald put on his reading glasses. "I, Margaret Ann Parker, being of sound mind and body, do hereby declare this to be my last will and testament, revoking all previous wills and codicils." My mother sat forward, expectant. "To my daughter, Patricia Ann Parker, I leave my silver tea set and all family photo albums, in hopes that she might remember the family we used to be before she chose cruelty." Patricia's face went white, then red. "What?" Gerald continued, his voice steady. "To my grandchildren, Brandon James Parker, Jessica Marie Morrison, and Tyler David Parker, I leave $1,000 each to be used for therapy sessions, should they choose to examine why they participated in their mother's abuse." "This is ridiculous!" Brandon stood up. "She was 90 years old. She wasn't thinking clearly." "Sit down, Mr. Parker," Gerald said, and something in his tone made Brandon sink back into his chair. "The remainder of my estate," Gerald continued, "including my home at 1247 Oak Hill Road, my investment portfolio with Fidelity, my savings accounts, and all other assets, totaling approximately $4.2 million, I leave to my granddaughter, Emily Rose Parker." The room exploded. "No!" Patricia was on her feet, her hands slamming on the table. "This is fraud! She manipulated her! Emily poisoned her against us!" "Mrs. Parker, I'm contesting this. We're all contesting this." She looked at Brandon, Jessica, Tyler. "Right?" Brandon nodded immediately. "Absolutely. This isn't legal." Jessica looked at David, who whispered something to her. She nodded. "We're contesting it too." Tyler said nothing. "You have that right," Gerald said calmly. "However, I must inform you that your mother anticipated this possibility. She left a detailed letter explaining her reasoning. Would you like me to read it?" "Yes," Patricia hissed. Gerald pulled out an envelope, opened it carefully, and began to read. "To my family, if you are hearing this letter, it means you have chosen to contest my will. I am not surprised. You have spent decades believing that Emily owes you something, her compliance, her silence, her acceptance of abuse. Let me be clear, she owes you nothing. My eyes filled with tears. I have watched my daughter Patricia abuse Emily emotionally and psychologically for 30 years. I have watched Brandon, Jessica, and Tyler follow their mother's example, treating their sister as less than, as other, as someone who deserves ridicule. I enabled this by staying silent. That was my greatest regret, and one I cannot undo. Patricia's hands were shaking. Emily is the only grandchild who visited me regularly, who called me every week, who showed me genuine love without expecting anything in return. She is the only one who asked about my life, my health, my happiness. The rest of you called on holidays and birthdays, if that. Gerald paused, looked up. There's more. This decision was made with full mental clarity and sound judgment. I am 90 years old, but my mind is sharp. I have consulted with my doctor, who will testify to my mental competence. I have consulted with my attorney, who has ensured this will is legally sound. And I have consulted my conscience, which tells me that Emily deserves to be protected and provided for, while the rest of you deserve to understand that actions have consequences. "Anyone can write a letter," Brandon shouted. "That doesn't prove anything." "You're right," Gerald said. He pressed a button on his laptop. The video camera turned on, and the screen on the wall lit up. Grandma Maggie appeared. She was sitting in her living room in her favorite armchair, wearing a cardigan I recognized. The timestamp read October 3rd, 2024, 1 month before she died. "Hello," she said to the camera. Her voice was strong, clear. "My name is Margaret Ann Parker. I am 90 years old. Today's date is October 3rd, 2024. I am making this video to ensure there is no doubt about my intentions regarding my will." Patricia made a sound like a wounded animal. "I am of sound mind," Grandma continued. "My doctor, Dr. Patricia Hernandez, has confirmed this in writing. I am not being coerced or manipulated. I am making these decisions freely and with full awareness of their implications." On screen, Grandma shifted in her chair, her expression becoming sad. "I am leaving the majority of my estate to my granddaughter Emily because she is the only member of my family who has shown me consistent love and respect. More importantly, she is the only grandchild I believe will use the money wisely and kindly." She paused, seemed to gather strength. "My daughter Patricia has been emotionally abusive to Emily since childhood. I watched it happen. I said nothing, and that silence is my greatest shame. I told myself it wasn't my place to interfere, that Patricia was Emily's mother and knew best. I was wrong." Tears rolled down my face. James handed me a tissue. "Last month," Grandma said, "Patricia poured a drink on Emily's head at a family brunch and called her trash. 17 people watched. 17 people filmed it. Not one person stopped it. She looked directly into the camera. "If my family is watching this video, it means they have contested my will. It means they believe they deserve money from me, despite treating Emily with contempt and cruelty. I want the court to understand this is not about money. This is about accountability. This is about protecting Emily from further exploitation. And this is about ensuring that my life savings go to someone who will honor my memory by being kind." Grandma's eyes were fierce now. "To Patricia, you have raised your children to believe that cruelty is acceptable if it's directed at someone who doesn't perform success the way you want them to. You are wrong, and I will not reward your behavior." To Brandon, Jessica, and Tyler, you are adults. You made choices. You filmed your mother abusing your sister and posted it online for entertainment. Those choices have consequences. She leaned forward slightly. To Emily, I am so proud of you. You have succeeded despite everything they did to tear you down. Use this money however you see fit. Buy a bigger house or keep your Honda. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you know you were loved, you were valued, and you deserved so much better than what they gave you." The video ended. The conference room was silent. Then Patricia spoke, her voice shaking. "You can't use that video. It's prejudicial." "It's testimony," Gerald said. "Recorded testimony from the deceased, explaining her mental state and reasoning. It's admissible in probate court." "We're still contesting it," Brandon said, but his voice had lost its conviction. "That is your right," Gerald said. But I should inform you that in addition to this video, I have phone records showing Emily called your grandmother weekly for 10 years. I have visitor logs from her assisted living periods showing Emily visited 2 to 3 times per month. I have testimony from Dr. Yi Hernandez confirming Margaret's mental clarity. And I have this. He pulled out a tablet and turned it around. The brunch video. Your mother specifically asked me to present this to the court if you contested the will. She said, and I quote, "If they claim they treated Emily well, show them what they posted online. Let a judge decide if that looks like love." Jessica started crying, real crying this time. "We can't win this, can we?" David shook his head slowly. "No." Tyler stood up. "I'm not contesting it." His voice was quiet, but firm. "Grandma was right. We treated Emily like garbage. We don't deserve anything." He looked at me. "I'm sorry, Em, for all of it. I know sorry doesn't fix anything, but I'm saying it anyway." Then he walked out. Patricia stared after him, her mouth open. Then she turned to me, her face twisted with rage and something else. Desperation. "This is not over," she said. "You haven't won." "This isn't about winning, Mom," I said quietly. It was the first time I'd spoken. "This is about Grandma's wishes, and she wished for me to have this because she loved me. I'm sorry she didn't feel the same way about you." "Don't you dare!" "We're done here," Gerald interrupted. "Unless there are further objections, this meeting is adjourned. I'll file the will with probate court next week. If you wish to contest, you have 30 days. Patricia stormed out, Brandon following. Jessica lingered for a moment. "I'm sorry," she whispered, so quietly I almost didn't hear. "Not for the will. For everything else." Then she left too. The probate hearing was 2 months later. Patricia and Brandon hired lawyers from Patterson and Associates. They presented their case. Undue influence, mental incapacity, manipulation. Judge Martha Rodriguez listened patiently for 3 hours. Then she watched Grandma's video. Then she read the letter. Then she looked at the phone records, visitor logs, and medical testimony. "Motion to contest is denied," she said. "The will stands as written. Mrs. Margaret Parker was clearly of sound mind and made her wishes abundantly clear. This court sees no evidence of undue influence or manipulation. Case dismissed." Patricia tried to shout something, but the bailiff escorted her out. I inherited $4.2 million. For a week, I didn't know what to do with it. I sat in Grandma's house, my house now, and tried to figure out what she would want. Then it came to me. I established the Margaret Parker Scholarship for Women in STEM, $1 million endowed, providing full-ride scholarships for young women from difficult family situations, women who needed someone to believe in them the way Grandma had believed in me. I donated $500,000 to the National Domestic Violence Hotline and related organizations, because what my family did was abuse, even if they never hit me. I put $500,000 into SecureNet, investing in our growth. The remaining $2 million went into a trust fund, security for the future, whatever that looked like, and I kept the house, 1247 Oak Hill Road, not because it was worth money, but because it held every good memory I had of family. Summer mornings making pancakes with Grandma, afternoons playing chess on the porch, evenings talking about my dreams while she listened like they mattered. 3 weeks after the probate hearing, Tyler called. "I don't want money," he said immediately. "I just wanted to tell you I'm in therapy, twice a week. I'm working on understanding why I did what I did." "Okay," I said carefully. "I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I participated. I filmed. I laughed. I was cruel. I own that now. I appreciate you saying that. I wanted you to know I'm trying to change. I'm trying to be better than what Mom raised us to be. I thought about it for a long time, about boundaries and grace, about the difference between forgiveness and reconciliation. Tyler, send me your therapist's information." "What?" "I'll pay for your therapy for as long as you need it." "Emily, you don't have to." "I know I don't have to, but Grandma would have wanted me to. She believed in second chances for people who were actually trying." I paused. "This isn't reconciliation. I'm not ready for that. but I'm willing to support your growth from a distance." He was crying. "Thank you. Thank you so much." "One condition. If you ever contact me asking for anything else, this ends. Understood? Understood. I promise." As for Patricia, Brandon, and Jessica, I maintained no contact. Jessica's apology was too little, too late. Brandon never apologized at all. And my mother continued to tell anyone who would listen that I'd stolen her inheritance. Some relationships can't be fixed. That's okay. 4 years after the brunch, SecureNet was valued at $220 million. I owned 55%, diluted from the Series B and Series C rounds, but still majority stake. On paper, I was worth $121 million. But more importantly, we were protecting 12,000 small businesses from cyber threats. I got letters from business owners whose livelihoods we'd saved. That mattered more than the valuation. I'd been on 3 more Forbes lists. I keynoted TechCrunch Disrupt. I mentored young women starting their own companies. I built things that mattered, and I built a life. I was dating Ryan Cooper, a middle school math teacher I'd met at a charity fundraiser. He was kind, stable, completely unimpressed by my net worth, and made me laugh. We'd been together for 2 years. I had friends, real friends. James Rodriguez was one of my best friends now, not just my business partner. Dr. Williams and I got coffee monthly. Maria Santos, the lawyer who'd helped with Grandma's estate, had become a close friend. I'd built a chosen family. The video still existed online, 28 million views now, but the narrative had fully shifted. The top comments were, "This woman is now worth over $100 million. Karma is beautiful. Her success is the best revenge. 4 years later and she's thriving while they're... Where are they?" I didn't check often. It didn't matter anymore. I heard about my family occasionally. Patricia still lived alone, bitter and isolated. Brandon was remarried, working a normal job, seeing his kids every other weekend. Jessica and David were still together, but strained. Their marriage had survived, but barely. Tyler was in Portland, working as a marketing coordinator at a small nonprofit. We texted occasionally, brief messages. "Happy Thanksgiving, Em? Congrats on the TechCrunch keynote." Nothing deep, but civil. He'd kept his promise, never asked for anything else. Just slowly, quietly worked on becoming better. That was enough. The first Sunday in December, I hosted brunch at 1247 Oak Hill Road. Grandma's house had become my sanctuary. I'd kept most of her furniture, updated the kitchen, turned her craft room into a home office. The garden was full of roses now, the ones Tyler had brought that day, 4 years ago, that I'd planted. Ryan helped me set the dining room table while jazz played softly in the background. "How many again?" he asked. 10. The doorbell rang. James arrived first with his wife and their new baby. Then Maria Santos with her partner. Dr. Williams came alone, bringing fresh croissants from the French bakery downtown. Amanda Foster, the CEO who'd fired Tyler but later became my mentor, arrived with her husband. Aunt Carol came too. She was the only blood relative invited. She'd apologized genuinely, changed her behavior, and shown up consistently over the past 4 years. That earned her a place at my table. And finally, 3 young women from the Margaret Parker Scholarship Program, recipients who'd become friends, mentees, and reminders of why the work mattered. We sat around Grandma's dining room table, and it felt full, not with performance or judgment or competition, just with warmth. Ryan made his famous pancakes, imperfect and delicious. James told terrible dad jokes. The scholarship recipients talked about their research projects. Dr. Williams shared a story about a patient who'd reminded her why she became a therapist. Amanda gave advice to one of the young women about her startup idea. I looked around the table and felt something I'd never felt at a family brunch. Peace. "Your grandmother would be so proud," Aunt Carol said quietly, leaning toward me. "I hope so. I'm trying to honor her memory." "You are. Every day." The doorbell rang again. Everyone looked up, conversation pausing. I felt my chest tighten. Old trauma, old fear. Who's here to hurt me? I opened the door. Tyler stood on the porch, holding a small plant. Roses, the same kind Grandma used to grow. "I know I'm not invited," he said quickly. "I was just in town visiting a friend and I wanted to drop this off. For the garden." I remembered Grandma loved these. I looked at him, really looked at him. He was 33 now, thinner, with a humility in his eyes that hadn't been there before. 4 years of therapy, 4 years of work, 4 years of genuine change. I looked back at my table, my chosen family, my safe people. I looked at Tyler. "Thank you for the roses," I said slowly. "I'll plant them this week." He nodded, started to turn away. "Tyler, wait." He turned back, hopeful but cautious. Maybe next month you could come for brunch, just to try." His eyes widened. "Really?" "But Tyler," I kept my voice firm, "if you ever bring drama, if you ever make my space feel unsafe, this ends. Understood?" "I understand, I promise. I'm not that person anymore." "Okay then. First Sunday of next month, 10 a.m. "I'll be here. Thank you, Em." After he left, I stood on the porch for a moment, holding the roses. Ryan came up behind me, wrapped his arms around my waist. "You okay?" he asked. "Yeah, I think so." "That was brave." "Or stupid? Jury's still out." He laughed. "Come back inside. James is telling another terrible joke and everyone's groaning." I planted the roses that afternoon, Ryan helping me dig holes in the cold December ground. Through the window, I could see everyone inside, talking, laughing, clearing dishes, being family without any of the performance. This was what Grandma wanted for me. Not the money, not the revenge. This. A life built on my own terms, with people who loved me without conditions. The video would exist forever. 28 million people had watched my family's cruelty. But that wasn't my story anymore. My story was SecureNet, the Margaret Parker Scholarship, Sunday brunches with people who chose to be kind, a man who loved me for who I was, not what I could perform. My story was learning that sometimes the family you're born into is just the prologue. The real story begins when you choose who gets to be in the chapters ahead. I stood in Grandma's garden, dirt under my fingernails, Ryan beside me, my chosen family visible through the warm kitchen window. "You would be proud, Grandma," I whispered. "I finally understand what you were trying to tell me. Success isn't what you own. It's who you are when no one's watching. It's building something beautiful from ashes. It's knowing when to hold on and when to let go. It's the courage to say no to people who hurt you and yes to people who heal you. And sometimes, just sometimes, it's giving someone a second chance while protecting yourself enough that their failure won't break you." I planted the last rose, patted the soil down, and went back inside to my real family. The ones who chose me back.